is that we all get it. Don't give in to the pain, just keep living, cause
got dreams I'm striving for. So I'm gonna live higher. I'm gonna live higher. I got dreams I'm striving.
What's up, guys? It's Toby Rosario, and in today's video I wanted to talk about direct mail on the cheap, direct mail secrets. But before I get started, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification. That way you get notified whenever I post a new video. Also, give this video a thumbs up. So today I wanted to talk about some direct mail, right? So direct mail can be very expensive. So I'm just gonna go ahead and say that. But there's a wrong way to do it and a right way to do it. And in my opinion, the way to do that is you want to really laser focus down your list. You want to do a stack list. So this is a stack list. This was an original list of like over 1,000. Now it's only like 100. It was like 75 or something like that, but 75 to 100, I don't remember. But essentially what you want to do is you want to really sniper down and focus on people who are more likely to sell, right? You want people who are more likely to sell, and the people who are more likely to sell have some sort of distress, right? They have some sort of level of motivation already. What I mean by that is, so let's say you had a list of people who are behind in the taxes, and if you just mail that list, right, that's somewhat of a distress. But what if you added another layer? What if you knew that they were behind on taxes and the property was vacant, right? So if then on top of that, if it's vacant, that means they don't live in it, right? So it's absentee, vacant, and behind on taxes. So that is a more likely motivated seller because they have several levels or layers of motivation on top of that original motivation of just tax. They're behind on the taxes. Make sense? So the more layers you have, the more levels of motivation you have stacked against that list or that seller, the more likely they're willing to sell the property at a discount, right? Because we want to deal with people who need to sell, not want to sell, right? That's the biggest, you have to understand that is the biggest difference between a motivated seller and a non-motivated seller. A motivated seller needs to sell. A non-motivated seller wants to sell. There's a big difference in the two, right? You want to deal with people that need to sell, right? They have some sort of distress. They're in a situation where they're desperate for money, more than likely, or they have more of a need to sell than someone who is not in a situation of distress. Does that make sense? So what I like to do is I like to stack my list. You can do that to really narrow down. You don't have to do like a very broad list, like absentee owner list. You can sniper down and add levels of motivation, code violations, tax default, narratives, vacants, absentee. Whatever the layer is, you can stack that against the other list and shrink it down to a more sniper approach as opposed to a shotgun approach, right? And then another tip you can do is, and I have a video on that, I'll have it somewhere around here. You can just pick one zip code, right? You could pick one zip code, a hot zip code where all the buyers are buying. You could just send direct mail to that one zip code, right? And the way you do that is, so let's say you have 10 zip codes, and the number one zip code, and then so from 1 to 10, the number one is the highest zip code. So you kind of stay in the middle, right? Because direct mail again can be a little bit expensive. So you kind of stay in the middle where there's not a lot of competition, but there is enough competition where you can get multiple deals in that particular zip code. So you can do that way. You can just do one zip code. You can do one zip code, stack the list against that one zip code. You can do subdivisions. So there's a lot of ways you can do that. So I just wanted to give you guys some tips on what you can do to really save money on your direct mail by stacking your list. I have a list stacking tool that I created. If you guys are interested, comment below. List Stacker Pro tool. I do sell that. If you guys are interested, you can let me know. If not, that's fine, but I'm just giving you the tips, right? So you can stack the list, And what that means is you want to add layers of motivation to the so you can target someone who's more likely to sell as opposed to a very broad list. And then you can add one zip code, one or two zip codes. This is actually a combination of two zip codes. So there's two zip codes, and you can send letters. You can get fancier and send like those colorful letters. You can send postcards cheaper. You can do handwritten postcards. There's a lot of ways you can do that to kind of really save money on your marketing. I just like to do the letters or the postcards, depending on which way what I'm feeling that they should get. They should get a postcard, then a letter, or letter, then postcard, vice versa, ringless voicemail, whatever the case is. What you want to do is, I forgot another tip. So here's what I here's a tip. So what you guys can do is so let's say you have a stacked list. So that stacked list, you skip trace, okay? So you got to skip trace that list, because what's going to happen is you're going to get the most recent address of that homeowner, especially if he's absentee, right? So you want to get a recent address. So what I use for skip tracing is batch skip tracing. I'll have the link in the bio, or link in the description. I have the links below where you can get skip tracing at a pretty affordable rate, and it's pretty accurate. So what you do is you compile a list, you skip trace that list, and then you mail to the new addresses once you get those new addresses from that skip trace list. Comment below, let me know, guys, what you guys do as far as your direct mail. Again, you can so let's recap. You can do one zip code, and you can send several thousand or 1,000 pieces, whatever that zip code has. You can do it that way. You can pick one zip code, stack the list in that zip code, and do even smaller lists. And again, what I like to do is skip trace the list I'm going to stack, or the list I stacked, and get the new addresses. That way you have a recently updated address. That's my take. Rosario. Peace.